How's it going?
It's going very well today.
Well, here we are again at the Julie and Kaz Show.
Oh, you mispronounced the Kaz and Julie Show. That's all right.
Yeah. So we are two health and wellness fanatics from very different backgrounds. I'm Julie. I do health and nutrition coaching and some yoga.
And I'm Kaz. I am a registered massage therapist and energy healer and owner of Key Health and Wellness in Whitby.
And together what we do is we tackle some common and maybe not so common health and wellness topics from our different viewpoints. So join us as we do our show once a week, make some jokes,
discuss some things.
some tings.
Yes. Some healthy and wellness things.
Yeah, so today what we're talking about is
Oh.
woo, 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 woo.
Yes, I was going to say today we're going to lose some people, I think, when we go into our little geek out about energy.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So we are all
And we're not talking about nuclear energy for all those people that were like, finally, two chicks talking about nuclear energy. Sorry, it's not us. Not
talking
today.
about energy.
Yes.
As in we are all made of energy.
And we're not talking about ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. Wow. I just said
Say
two
that.
big words.
Say that 10
I
times
can't.
fast.
No, that's not going to happen. Which is basically when our muscles contract, they produce this energy, and that's how our muscles work.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. But we're not talking about that either. We're talking about the foo-foo woo-woo stuff. The universe, man.
Yeah.
All the cool stuff that goes on. So it's in many different cultures. In China, I think it's Qi.
Yeah.
In Japan, it's Ki, which is incidentally the name of my company. Nice segue. In India, it's prana.
Prana.
So we're talking about that energetic system. Much like the circulatory system within your body, we have this energy system. So this energy that flows through every cell, every being of our body. It revitalizes us. It charges us. How many times have you said, oh, I have no energy today?
But the other thing also is that energy is connected not just like within us, but all around us. So through every animal, plant, living organism on this planet.
It is how we are all connected.
Yeah.
For sure.
If you've ever heard, we are one, we are literally one.
Well, I mean, I think we've all had that experience where you walk into a place and you're like, oh, I don't like the vibe here. That vibe is the energy. That is what we're talking about today. The stuff that's in us, we project it out of us, we get it from other people. And today we're just going to kind of talk about what that means in terms of our own health and wellness, because it affects us physically, mentally, emotionally, of course, spiritually. I know you're dying to talk about energy from food. What? So I'll let you take the microphone.
Yeah. So food has energy and it gives us energy. There's like every yoga teacher training I've ever done, we've talked about high vibe and low vibe foods. And so generally foods that are considered, that are processed, that are meat, that are dairy, they're actually considered very low vibe foods. And foods that come from plants are considered very high vibe. So generally, and especially if they're organic, right? So you have to think of what is the energy that's gone into creating food. And there are even some schools of thought that go, and this is what the idea of like blessing your food before you eat it, because what you're doing is you're actually raising the vibration of the food before you put it into your body.
Right.
So if you're eating foods that are very low vibe, you're not paying attention to what you're putting in your body, especially if it's food that has suffered, like in the case of meat, that energy goes into your body. And there are actually studies that talk about the links between depression and eating certain foods, like lots of meat and lots of dairy, where there's a lot of suffering that goes into it, versus eating foods that are plant-based and the energy that goes into those foods, especially the organic plant-based foods, because anytime you introduce chemicals and pesticides, these are not things that our body recognizes, and it doesn't actually have any way of metabolizing them. So that kind of sits as dead energy in our digestive system. And that's not stuff that you want to be holding and carrying around with you. So food has energy. And ideally, you want to be eating in such a way that you're raising your vibrational frequency.
Right. Absolutely. So I mentioned earlier that we have this energetic system, like the circulatory system. So when everything is flowing properly, we feel great. We feel energized. We have, a wonderful sleep. Everything's good. Life seems good. But when we get these blockages, whether it's from the food we're eating, so anything we're ingesting, maybe it's from environmental factors, a toxic workplace, maybe it's our own thoughts that are working against us, it blocks that energy. And much like in the circulatory system, if your arteries start to get blocked, that manifests as a very serious health issue. And the same is here in this energy system that we have in our bodies. So as an energy healer, I see a lot of people come in with blockages. These blockages manifest themselves as physical ailments. And the reason is we don't pay attention very much to our emotions. We like to suppress them, believe it or not.
We're taught to suppress them.
Right. And we live in this environment where we don't communicate with each other and, we bottle everything up and we suppress it. And so the body finally says, well, I need you to understand something's going on. Boom. Here is sciatic pain. Boom. Here are chronic knee issues. So anytime you have something that is repetitive that comes up, for me, it's my right shoulder. If things are going on and I'm not dealing with it, my right shoulder goes haywire.
Mine is my left.
Right. And so, I could go on and on. There's books that tell you what that means. I know what it means, but we don't need to talk about that now. But it's me just suppressing stuff, keeping it locked down. The moment I start dealing with it, I free up that energy. I remove the blockage. Things flow freely again. Life is good. And so anyone that is suffering from long-term chronic ailments that don't really have, say, a story of how they came about, that's what we're talking about when we talk about this physical manifestation. And so most people walk around with lots of energy blockages within them, and they're not paying attention, unfortunately.
Or they're numbing them.
Well, it's so funny how we live in this environment where pain becomes the norm and we're like, oh, it's just the way of life now.
People don't actually know that their body can be pain-free. Like I deal with this when clients come to me and we start shifting their nutrition and their lifestyle around. They start to feel better in their body and they're like, whoa, what is this? I'm like, that's how your body's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Just saying.
It's so very, very true. And when clients come in to see me, so I practice Reiki, which is a hands-on energy healing practice. But it really works on your body's natural ability to heal itself and feel much better. And it deals with all kinds of levels. So whether it's that physical pain or emotional issues, which usually is where it kind of stems from. The good thing is we're not delving into the past. We're not making you relive anything. It's just freeing up the blockages that are there. But so many people don't realize they're walking around with this closed off energy system.
Right.
And so nothing they do, doesn't matter how many cups of coffee they drink every day, yelling and screaming in that Tim Hortons lineup, which I hear from my windows, they're not going to feel more energized because they literally can't. They're tapping out.
They're not dealing with the root cause, which is this disruption in the field. And I know for myself, like I usually turn to meditation. Like if I start to feel things in my body that I'm like, just everything's kind of seem a little stuck, I will just start taking and doing longer meditation sits or do a flow or go see someone like yourself and be like, okay, something's off. Let's just clear it.
It's true. So many people come to see me because they've heard about Reiki or they've heard about sessions that my clients have had. And so they want to come check it out. They're curious. And things will come up that they haven't thought about for years or that they're really trying very hard to suppress. And it comes out in full force and they're forced to deal with it. And not necessarily, I don't want people to get all scared that they're going to come and have this like Barbara Walters moment where they're like, oh, I thought we were going to talk about this. but it's a very freeing moment. And I am a huge advocate, I've said this before, for acknowledgement first. If you can just simply acknowledge something, you take away so much of its energy or power. And so many of the clients are like, you know what, you're right. It's time to kind of just deal with that. And deal with that can just simply be, you're right, I don't like it. Boom, done.
Yeah.
It's taken away that massive amount of energy that we're using to suppress it, to push it down.
So I had that I'm a big fan of Vipassana, which is 10 days of silent meditation. So there's if you've never heard of Vipassana, this is not for the faint of heart.
Oh, it is very trying.
So you're sitting for 11 hours a day in meditation. You can sit in a chair or you sit cross-legged on the floor. There's no reading. There's no journaling. There's no social media. You can't even make eye contact with the other people who are there. But you sit for many, many hours a day. And there are breaks. You do get breaks. But when you're sitting for that many hours a day, it's amazing how much energy is moving through your body. All of the old thought patterns and emotional patterns. And even you'll notice with I noticed at least with the thought patterns, like the physical patterns in the body that need to clear. And you'll get hot, you'll get cold, like all of this stuff comes up. Emotions just keep just bubble to the surface and come out your eyes.
Or you're detoxing.
Yeah, you're literally detoxing. But honestly, I've never felt as good as I do on day 10 of a Vipassana retreat, because there's just so much energy that gets cleared. Like we're literally like energy sponges as we go through our day. We're collecting all of this information and data, and a lot of it is on the unconscious level, and it gets housed somewhere in our body, in our mind, and maybe even through our emotions, definitely through our emotions. Let's not forget that. And so when we're just collecting all of this matter day after day after day, it just kind of sits in our system. And if we're not dealing with it in any way, shape, or form, then it stays. And this is why, for me, I've been a big fan of doing a daily meditation practice for years and years and years. In fact, I will pick a meditation practice over any physical activity. Like if I have to choose, I have a flight at 6 a.m. and I only have time to do workout or meditation, I'll always choose meditation, because it's what clears everything. It takes away some of that residue that gets built up from the day before, or whatever might be sitting in the background, taking up energy and creative space. I don't want it in my system, so I got to clear it out.
Well, a massive amount of the energy we use comes from our mind. The thoughts that we create and that we spend energy time on manifests into our body. And then we either vibrate that outwards, and then that can toxify the space we're in. So a good practice, I like to do mindful meditation when I'm driving. So it's being in that moment, looking at your environment, taking note of things that come up, listening to much better music. Often when we're in the vehicle, I used to listen to, quite over the top music.
I used to listen to heavy metal.
Right. So, and for some people that actually is therapeutic, and that's great. But now taking it a little calmer, listening to a little bit of different music. I don't listen to the news or anything along those lines. It's just creating a comfortable space. I think that's the number one thing.
Well, I also think that, because we're privy to so much information coming at us, we have to be mindful of what we allow in.
For sure. I think creating barriers as well is a huge point. And clearly we could go on and talk about this. So I think we will probably spend some more time talking about this particular subject. But for now, we want to thank you for listening. We want you to follow us on social media. For me, it's at Key Health and Wellness Whitby.
For me, it's Julie Brar.
Perfect. You can find all our information in our little bio there. Go on our websites, check us out, like, post, share, whatever you do. Put good vibes out there, people.
Yeah, and we'll catch you next
on the
time.
flip side.
Bye. Bye.
This show has been produced by podcastexpert.ca.